Hi. Hey guys.
Hi, so my name is Joe.
And I'm Nita.
And this is Real Talk with
Nita
and Joe. So for our first episode, we are going to start with an observation or quote about imperfection. In our society, we are taught to rid ourselves of our imperfections and aspire to be better. Imperfections aren't necessarily things that we should be ridding ourselves of. There's a quote or a saying that like our imperfections are random. If the imperfections are a random force of nature, then there would also exist individuals who are perfect, because that's how things are balanced. For whatever there is of something, there are things that aren't. If imperfection was just something that was caused by nature, then there should also exist
perfection,
particularly perfect people, either absolutely perfectly beautiful people, perfectly symmetrical without flaws,
no blemishes, no nothing.
Exactly, no acne, no anything, perfect personalities or personas, meaning like no neuroses, no anxiety, no anger issues,
no stress.
No, exactly, just these individuals who can just handle everything. Or a combination of both. Individuals who are both physically perfect and emotionally perfect, psychologically very intellectual, very smart, and just well-rounded good people. Of the 7+ billion people that exist on the planet, I have never met one such individual. That got me thinking, like, okay, well then if by that deduction imperfections aren't random, then that must mean that there are features. There are things in nature that are perfect, right? There's a perfectly beautiful sunset. There are perfectly symmetrical flowers, right? So we do know that nature is capable of creating perfection. We see it everywhere, but not in human beings. Which means then that our imperfections are actually our features of what makes us what we are, right?
Because we're unique in that way.
These things that an individual perceives as something that makes them imperfect or quirky or weird. A lot of the successful people out there right now that we've read about or we've heard of are the people who took those oddities, those imperfections, and actually like made a name for themselves because of that. So they didn't try to like change that.
Right.
So for example, Will Smith, he's got those ears, right, that kind of stick out, and they're super adorable, right? Now, a person who aspired for perfection probably would have looked in the mirror and said, oh my gosh, my ears stick out, and then pin them back. But he almost kind of like embraced it, right? That's who if you draw a caricature of Will Smith, one of the things that you'll notice is that he does have large ears, right? But it's what, makes him kind of iconic. It lends itself to why he's so personable and charming and charismatic, and people are just kind of naturally drawn to him because he does have kind of quirky but lovable features. He's not like perfect looking.
Right.
Who else can you think about?
I feel like right now, if I think about celebrities or if I think about someone who's in the spotlight, who's a role model, I can't pick out someone who is embracing their imperfections, because more often than not, I see people like Kim Kardashian who takes their imperfections, goes through plastic surgery, Photoshop, and then they're only posting that, and that's their image. Because if you look perfect and that's what people want to aspire to be, there's something challenging to work towards.
Well, I'll contrast that. I will agree with you that there are those people who do that. So we've got the Kim Kardashians.
Kylie Jenner, like the youngest one?
No, not the model, the one that just had the baby.
Yeah, it's Kylie.
Okay, yeah, and we've seen what she looked like when she was like
14.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, like, that's not puberty, that's not how puberty works.
So these glow-ups have been quite different than just growing up. You're actually altering your face and your body to like a certain standard. Right,
and it did actually inspire that meme that says, like, nobody's ugly, right? Just broke.
I saw that about Rihanna. Actually, it was ridiculous.
Oh, she's always been kind of cute.
Yeah, I agree.
But you know what? You bring up Rihanna, but that's a woman that I don't think she's altered herself in any way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think on the opposite end we do have the Kim Kardashians, but then we have we've got Rihanna, who like her nose is like, that's her same nose. Of course, she's contoured it for various shoots or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I love how she's just like, this is me, this is my face, this is my nose, these are my features, these are my lips, and hasn't really done much that I've noticed. And then even now she's kind of like getting a little bit more full figured, and she just flaunts it. Like she's not trying to like starve herself or
exactly. Like we actually see her ups and downs, and I feel like she's always embracing them. She's never trying to hide who she is.
Yeah.
Even when she's just out in the public with paparazzi, she's just like, well, this is me, and
yeah,
I'm just gonna be myself.
Exactly.
Like a lot of her, even in her music videos, you'll see her half naked in her shoots, and she doesn't have the most perfect breasts or the most perfect body as far as what we see in society today with the Kim Kardashian body, the hourglass figure. Mm-hmm. But she's actually more of a role model for us than as far as Rihanna, because she's showing that she's okay with her body no matter what size or what shape she's at. Mm-hmm.
Another one that just came out to my mind as you were speaking, Ashley Graham. But she is a plus size model, and in that industry, to make it where she has made it, being a plus size model is like truly remarkable, and I think people endear themselves to her more so because she's like, okay, this could have been something that she wanted to be a model, growing up, and she could have probably taken to heart, like, okay, I probably need to drop like 100 pounds or whatever crazy number she would need to kind of compete, with
the standard of supermodels.
Exactly, that wafy look. But instead she embrace that, like, okay, I'm gonna try to make a name for myself within the industry for women that look like me. And a lot of the things that we think make us imperfect or make us flawed are actually, unique character traits that we could actually use towards our advantage to making ourselves kind of, making our way in the world.
It's pretty remarkable when we see people really embrace who they are and then show that self-love on social media, show it in magazines. Like you were talking about Ashley Graham, she's actually showing her full body and she's loving it. And when other women see that, it's that excitement of, well, if she loves her body, then I'm okay to love my body too. I don't have to lose 200 pounds to fit in and look like all these other models in the editorial, because Ashley Graham is right there in the editorial too, and I can be like her if I look like her. Mm-hmm. No one's bodies are exactly the same. We're not robots. We don't all look like one certain type. We all have those unique little flaws with us. And growing up, I think personally for me, looking at all the perfect models and then going to modeling agencies and hearing, you don't fit it quite right. Like, are you working out? Are you able to lose a little bit of weight? Even to the point where I could see my ribs. It's tearing you down and making you feel like you have to fit the norm, and that is the norm, when the reality of the situation is norm is normal size average women who are at all sizes of the spectrum, because there is no one standard. There's no one size fits all.
The fact that you bring up the modeling industry, that's definitely part of the problem, right? That has kind of contributed to the, I would say, psychological illness of a lot of women in our society, because of the fact that for the longest time, it's literally every time you open a magazine, just been one type of woman: extremely thin, extremely European, and extremely perfect, right? And the problem, of course, is we all know now, I wasn't aware of this growing up, right? You pick up a magazine, you're looking through all these these images. I didn't know about Photoshop.
Right. We didn't know that, especially like growing up for us. We weren't even able to have access to these programs. I guess it's more transparent as far as what's going on in the media, and that's why it's becoming more accepting. Like the fact that people can sit in front of a camera and explain their point of view nowadays instead of having a whole news crew to report your story, that changes a lot.
Yeah.
So we live in a time where we can actually share our experiences, and I think it's making a difference as far as what's going out on marketing and what we're seeing on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think knowledge is power. I think having knowledge, like Nita said, of these programs have helped, I think, a large amount of women understand, okay, these women that are in these magazines don't even look like this. Like, but for the longest time, I think we have been psychologically primed by picking up these magazines, by watching movies. We don't even realize that, like, there is a certain level of photoshopping that happens in movies. I read an article that talks about this. They will spend several hours, days in post-production editing videos in movies of, yes, it happens.
Retouching of like bodies.
Retouching bodies. You know, not just the standard body double. Post-production. So just like you can watch like a CGI movie, and you know that the characters have been like augmented or whatever. They can go in and tweak and remove fine lines of just an actress and actor, so define six packs and give them more muscle tone. They can go in and do that even in video.
And you can see it in Game of Thrones, because that's definitely one that's a little bit more known out there. There's a lot of CGI, especially towards the later seasons.
That's
and you'll
true.
see the women look younger in the latest season than what they did in the first season.
The actress who played Cersei, and now mind you, that's her choice. But I remember watching the episode where she does the walk, and everybody's calling and everybody's chanting, what are they? Shame, shame, and people are throwing things. If you go watch that episode again. Her head has been superimposed to her body. That's not her body, because she's walking nude. So they got another actress to actually do the walk of shame, Cersei's walk of shame. Yeah, and then they superimposed her face onto this woman's body.
See, I wasn't even aware of this. Even while I was watching the show, I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know the actress would actually put herself out like that. And she didn't.
No, she didn't.
Wow.
Watch it again. Yeah, you guys watch it. You'll see, because with her head and the neck, there's a disconnect. So, and you can obviously Google it. There are articles people wrote about it and why she chose not to do that. But I mean, shout out to the nameless, faceless actress who actually did have to do that walk in front of all those people. The purpose of us talking about this is we want our viewers to be cognizant of the fact that you're not alone in these observations. You're not alone in these sort of thoughts when you pick up a magazine or you look at somebody's Instagram page and go like, wow, like, her skin's like flawless, and you start feeling like weird, and then you look in the mirror and kind of compare. I think if you're conscious of the fact that they're not perfect. Nobody is perfect, and it sounds so cliche, right? But if you can just bring that to the front of your mind the moment those thoughts start creeping in, when you start kind of drawing comparisons, my hope, Nita's hope, our hope, is that kind of gets you to maybe pause and go, no, like, I'm not imperfect, I'm unique, and the things that I find as flaws aren't flaws, they're actually like character traits.
If I feel like something might be a flaw with me, guess what? There's probably 1,000 million other women that feel the same way about, their nose, their face, their hair, or whatever it may be. So if you go out and you become a role model for these people, they're going to look at you and see that, wow, she did this even despite the fact she felt self-conscious about, and she went out there and made something out of herself.
Right.
If you're not even living your own life, you're trying to look like somebody else, by the time that you're 70, 80 and looking back, will you really be happy with the things that you did?
Right. So it's not a matter of changing who you are. I think the key to success is owning who you are. So if you think about women like Lupita Nyong'o, right? She's like absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. We went to go watch Black Panther, I think last week or a couple of weeks ago, and I just remember watching her, particularly her, Denai, all these gorgeous women, her skin, her teeth, her lips, her nose, her eyes. But I know growing up in North America, having her complexion, she probably faced a fair amount of, bullying and targeting and attacking for her for the color of her skin, the texture of her hair. And not only does she not change that, she owns it. She's made it just as she is. And not only just as she is, but owning, hey, I'm a beautiful woman of color, but I'm also articulate. I'm also like a great actress. I'm also like kind and loving and sweet, and that, all that energy resonates.
Personally, I look at issues with self-esteem and self-image as resistance, because you're born into this body. You have your one soul. So if you're constantly resisting the person that you're born as, you're not even fulfilling who you really are supposed to be here and what you're supposed to be doing in your life. Right. And then you start thinking about self-hatred, you become self-conscious, you start looking in the mirror, and it's hard to even leave the house without having a full face of makeup done, hair done, heels on. And I say that because I've been in that situation. When I actually first moved out here to America from Norway, I had left a really bad relationship, and I really didn't feel good about myself in any way. So whenever I had to go to get the mail, I'm like, oh my God, I have to get my eyebrows done. Like, I need to fill in my eyebrows, I need to do my hair, because what if my neighbor sees me? Like, I was so self-conscious about myself. Going to the grocery store means that I had to have my heels on, I had to have my jeans on, I had to look good, because I just didn't know who was going to see me and who was going to judge me, because I'd been in a relationship where the person I'd been with who's constantly just judging me and telling me I wasn't good enough. So sometimes it is from outer sources where we take it upon ourselves to give ourselves that resistance. But ultimately, resistance isn't going to give you what you want in life. It's really just setting everything aside, loving yourself, accepting who you really are, and forgiving yourself for any flaws and mistakes that you have made in the past, and then moving forward for your end goal and really realizing what you're here on this planet to do.
Yeah, right? Like by bringing it to people's consciousness, right? To their forefront of their mind that, hey, A, you're not imperfect. B, the things that you think of are flaws are actually character traits. And once you learn to own those traits, you can actually utilize those things that you thought made you sort of different to make yourself stand out from the crowd and be great. So learn to own those things.
Absolutely. Right? Just really love the person that you are. Because even if you wanted to, if you look in the mirror and you're like, I'm just not the right size, I'm not the right skin color, my hair doesn't look right, it should be curled instead of being straight, and you start telling yourself all these things, you're losing your potential.
Accept the fact that what you perceive of as flaws, that's what makes you unique. Talking
yourself down on a daily basis because you don't look like somebody else that you see on social media on a daily basis, especially now, for example, on Instagram, perfect hourglass figures with like the perfect booty and everything, and then you go and look in the mirror and you're like, damn, my butt does not look like that.
I don't have a booty.
It just don't have a booty. Mine has stretch marks. It just doesn't look the same.
Yeah.
And then you start hating yourself for it. And oftentimes we do self-destructive things, like we start going to the gym not to be healthy, but rather to start altering our body and pushing ourselves to look like another person instead of being the better version of yourselves.
Once you accept yourself in every aspect of you for what you are, as you are, you cannot help but resonate that warmth, that confidence, that acceptance. It kind of just glows, and then people just are drawn to you. This is episode 1 of Real Talk with Nita and Joe. And we hope you enjoyed the video.
We'll be coming out with more content soon. If you guys want to go ahead and subscribe to us and like our social media, all of those links will be down in the description box.
Any requests for any topics in which you'd like us to discuss, just go ahead and leave it in the comments below.
Thank you guys so much for watching.
Thank you. Thanks
for
watching.
We'll see you guys next time. Bye.